and welcome to the show, my so-called fabulous. I'm Tiffany, and hey, we're diving deep in something that you've all asked me about. Seriously, money, finances, how we handle these, especially with your children. I'm hearing from you. How do you handle money with your children? How do you plan from college? Women, are you balancing your money and your budget? And are you saving for your retirement? So we are here today with my gal. I just have to say my gal for sure, because she took me on a couple of years ago. Sarah Webb with Webb CFO out of Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. You know, you have single-handedly changed my life for the better. You have a company, and I want you to share Webb CFO and your women, all women based, right?
Yep. We're an all women. We're not anti-male, but we are an all woman team. So, so we help small businesses and families organize their finances from QuickBooks, if that's the software that you use, but really helping empower and make good money decisions. A lot of times we don't have the information that we need to make those decisions. And so we're building the base of that information and then acting as consultants and helping you ultimately make choices that are right for your business and for your family.
That's right. And you know, I think it's been 2 years that you came on with my husband and I, Greg, on our family side,
Yes.
which you inherited my business side, my so-called fabulous as well. And you know, we're going to touch on this as well, but I thought you could just find someone locally to do your bookkeeping, I'll just say. But how do you decide between a bookkeeper that's not really their career? You're an accountant.
Right.
Especially when it can be complicated, right? Or can you do this yourself?
So I think there's a certain level you can start out doing it yourself. It's really, do you have a natural desire to like numbers? Some people are like, no, I absolutely hate numbers. I can't even do basic math. And I think there's a little bit of false there and a little bit of fear. But if it's something that you're going to avoid and you don't like opening the mail and you just don't like dealing with it, it's likely that a professional is a good fit for you.
Right.
But there are a lot of tools and resources where you can really start out at the beginning doing a lot of it yourself, especially for families and kind of organizing your personal finances. There's a lot of apps where you just connect your bank and it kind of does a lot of AI and does a lot of that for you.
Right. And, you know, honestly, ours was so complicated because of a sale of a company and a business. I mean, a small business at that. You know, you were so great about profitability when it comes to business. And then on the other side with the family, reporting taxes.
Yeah.
Taxes is frightening. And my parents always told me we have to do two things in life. Pay taxes and die.
Yeah.
That's two things you must do. So let's take this over to children, because you have two children of your own.
Yes.
Because so many questions are through the years, and I really didn't have someone that I trusted to come on here. I mean, bankers can come on, and I've had fabulous bankers on here. It's just different. So let's talk about kids. How do you teach the children that have everything at their disposal and the touch of their hand and very quick? How do you teach them about money and managing money?
Well, I think for me, it goes back to when I was in college. When you go to college, you think that everyone is the same as you. And you're like, oh, goodness, your family eats this or you learn this. Well, I didn't realize at that time that my family talked about money differently. And I think the big piece was my family talked about money. We talked about, we're going to choose to do this instead of this. We are going to, I always saw my mother paying the bills every Sunday. That was her Sunday afternoon. She would sit at the kitchen table and old school, write a check, you know. So we talked about money in a way that I didn't realize other families were not talking about when I went away to college. And so when my husband and I had kids, my kids are now 14 and 16. So they're older, you know, they're getting to on their own little wheels and spending some of their own money. But we really made a conscious effort to talk about why we're choosing to spend our money. You know, why are we choosing to go out to eat? Or this time we're not going to go out to eat because we're going to save for something bigger. And so we started with some just basic, like, we're going to spend money on this. We're not going to get candy at the checkout line at the grocery store. You know, that's not something that we're going to spend our money on. we're big Friday night football fans because we're in Texas. And so when the kids were really little, we would give them $5 to spend at the football game. And when it was over, that was it. Your $5 was gone. And so that was a way of giving them something tangible to hold and then go up to the counter and, present themselves and manage change and some of those things. But that was a way that we said, if you don't spend all your $5, you can keep it. And so one kid spent all their money and the other kid would be like, well, I'm going to spend $3. I'm going to take $2 home and I'm going to use it for something else. So I think kind of giving them that tangible, holding something to start with was really, really valuable for them.
I remember like it was yesterday. My mother gave me $10 to go to Texas State Fair. And she said, I'm just telling you, when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Don't go to the Midway. Don't do it. The bus got it. We got off the yellow bus, and I went to the Midway and won that first thing. I lost the entire $10.
Yeah.
I didn't eat all day, and she wasn't mad about it because I was like, oh my gosh, I have not been to a Midway since. And that was 16, 15. So yeah, that tangible, I learned a very strong lesson. So now, just being so yeah. So how do you handle your kiddos?
Well,
with the $5, of course.
Well, they're a little bit older now. So specifically for my daughter, about 2 years ago, I was just beauty product to death, right? I was just like, no, I'm not buying this. It's $30. No, like even after Christmas, like there was like this, you did this Christmas. She got all these things that she wanted. And then she was like, oh, and then now I want this. And I'm like, good gracious, your face is 12 years old. You don't need all these expensive products. And I'm going broke over your face. So what I decided that going into that January is I gave her $1,200. That was about $100 a month because I felt like that was kind of what she was with. I want to get my nails done or I want to buy this product. I mean, it was a lot of money and it was a little too much. I think I really should have ratcheted it down.
Really?
But I went to the bank and I got all of it in 5s and 1s. And so this looks like a stack of cash. And to a 12-year-old, I mean, this is like their entire life savings, right? And so what I said is, you are now in charge of all your beauty spending. Anytime I buy something on Amazon, or even if I take you to the store and you don't have it, you have to pay me back immediately. And I kept a spreadsheet, and every time I would charge her every time. And I said, and there's a convenience fee because I'm just tired of being your little bank. But, for the first 3 months, she lived big. She was like, I am buying these products that I've wanted. And then she started thinking like, I'm going to run out of money by the end of the year. And I'm like, yes, you are going to run out of money. And remember, I said, any money that you don't spend, you get to keep. Mm-hmm. And so her spending really got under control, but she also was more conscientious about the products that she was buying. Am I trying to buy this because it's cool, or is this kind of what my dermatologist said my type of face needs, right? Like, so she's making some trade-off decisions for herself as well as managing the money. And so we've been doing that for a few years. I've rolled in some other expenses into that because I did give her too much to begin with. So now she has to pay for her hair and her nails. And so she's getting to decide what she wants to do with it. That first year she bought some fancy sweatpants that she wanted. And so she felt really empowered of I bought this for myself. I kind of managed my own money.
Do you feel so she bought this her own self. Do you feel like she's more proud of this? And
oh, she wears those Aviator Nation green sweatpants all the time.
Really?
And I think, it is she was like, I want these sweatpants. And I'm like, you have your own money. I don't want to buy those sweatpants. They look fabulous. She loves them. But when she puts those sweatpants on, I swear she grows a little bit taller. She just feels better about herself. Yes.
So you're empowering her as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now your son, is it a different story?
He's not as money motivated, and at his likes, there's not something like skincare, or there's not something that he wants all the time. He's a little bit more into gaming, so we do it a little bit differently, but it's the same concept. And he's turning 16, so I feel like he's about to get on this roadway of gas and 7-Eleven snacks and things like that. So we're anticipating that we're planning to do it very similarly.
So those are the people that are listening and watching, that have a boy and a girl that could be very different. Do you give them the same amount?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because they're different.
They're different, and probably that goes back to my parents, but I have a brother. We weren't given the same amount. We spent different money at different times in our lives. So, my mom's like, oh, you were so expensive in college, but your brother wasn't. And then we helped him afterwards with this. So I don't feel like I have to treat them equal every single day of the week or, in every instance. I try to look at the arc of like, are we spending similarly or are their interests the same? I mean, my kids have different interests and those have different costs.
For sure, they do. So you, with your daughter, Cash, I told you the story about Kennedy. We had to get permission from our children to talk about this, of course. But when she was little, she was probably in middle school and went to Menchie's Yogurt and called her dad and said, your dad, my debit card's broken. And he's like, no, it's not. He's watching her spending.
Right.
And so she was devastated. She was embarrassed in front of her friends. And all this. Same thing at TCU. She's at some deli and she had frog bucks and she went up to pay and they're like, ma'am, you don't have any money left on your card. She's like, shh, shh. So the embarrassment too.
Yeah.
Of course. So that fear, it was a healthy fear for her, once she knew. So debit cards, is that a good thing?
So both my kids do have debit cards. And what we did for this football season is we loaded up, this is your $200 for all your snackies for the season. Don't ask me for a snack. Don't ask me for, $3 for a water. Like, it's not happening. You need to have your debit card with you and you need to be able to look at that. So probably, since Kennedy was in college, we all have apps. So my kids have their banking app on their phone and they can look at that balance each day. So they need to plan ahead of, I'm doing something. Now, sometimes when they're traveling, my son travels with the youth group son, they'll be spending money like if they're taking a bus to Colorado to go a ski trip. I'm kind of watching what his spending is and I try not to let them get too much, but we will definitely be addressing, like he had like $25 on the way home. And I'm like, yeah, he might need another $25 just to make it home. And then we're going to be talking about like, what did you spend your money on? Did you buy Chick-fil-A for the entire bus of 50 people? Because I swear you had enough money when you left, right?
Right.
So what were you spending your money on?
Right. Okay. Let's talk about saving, because with your daughter, you could roll over and they could just bring that $1,200 into saving. How do you teach your kids about saving, and if they choose to give back? There's a couple of questions in there.
Yeah. So I think saving for kids, especially and adults, like I need a big goal. Like I need something like tangible, kind of almost like the vacation method. Like I always like to have another trip on the books. Like it gives me something to look forward to. And so for my daughter, she is very motivated by either a certain piece of clothing or something big that she wants. And I'm like, okay, that's that's for her a very easy, tangible thing. I think for my son, I think he just likes to watch the money grow, and that's okay too. So he doesn't have like this big, I want this thing, but he is saving in a way that's he'll be able to do something big when he wants to. Mm-hmm. And so that's you kind of have to know, like, what is it about your kid? My daughter kind of likes the things, and he's just kind of on the sidelines of like, he'll probably be a billionaire before all of us because he's just,
correct,
putting it away. Even birthday money. I'm like, hey, you should buy yourself something. Your grandmother gave you $100. He's like, no, I'll just put it into savings. I'm like,
wow.
Okay, well,
okay.
That'll pay dividends in the future.
That's great. Okay. So you also are staring you in the face is college.
Yeah.
You, Van, your husband went to college. You went to college. And I remember filling out with Kennedy the FAFSA. Is it still a FAFSA?
Yeah.
Good grief, wolf. Tell us about college and how kids determine where to go, and scholarships and motivation. And I have a granddaughter that's graduating this year, and she's just like, whoa.
Yeah. So college is very different than when I went to college, when you went to college, when Kennedy went to college. There's a lot. You can't get the loans like you used to. So we, as like a society, we've said we can't let kids have too much student loan debt, or it'll hinder them as young adults, which is true. But then for people in my age range, you let us get really big loans, but now you're not letting our kids get the loans. And so we're having to go back to get loans. And so parents in a certain, age frame are really doubling down. Kids cannot, themselves, when I went to college at 18, you could have gotten a loan for $200,000, right? You could have done that. Now they're limited to, in their freshman year, $5,500, sophomore, $6,500. They can't get these big loans.
Why?
It's part of curbing student loan debt. And
okay.
But that's the problem, is that my generation as a parent, I potentially could have had really big loans, and then now my kids can't get the same loans. And so you have to get them as a parent. So I don't know if I have this magic thing, I guess, before they're born, start saving. It's very hard. But I think that's also why colleges, a traditional 4-year college isn't necessarily the path for most people anymore. You're doing a lot of dual enrollment in high school. You're getting some of those hours out. There's a lot of paths for community colleges to 4-year universities. I think there's a lot more programs, and with that, different cost structures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, in 10 to 20 years, how many students will have a traditional 4-year path that has been historic.
That's right, because I took classes at Navarro Junior College in the summers, and it was less expensive, obviously, than TCU, but for me, it was the easier courses.
Yeah.
It was to get your English out of the way.
Things that maybe weren't in your major, but you still needed to have them.
Yes.
Sure.
And I went to a rural school. We didn't have AP. We had nothing like that. My gosh, I'm so old. Woof. Okay. Did you have AP?
We did have AP, but I'm annoying. And so I went to community college at night in high school.
God.
So I went in almost being a junior, and so graduated really quickly. Yeah. And that's kind of, when I was talking about my parents and spending different money on different people, my brother did a traditional 4-year program, and that was great for him. So I think, as you're kind of thinking about your kids may not have the same college path that you did, or the same to each other.
Wow. You went into college as a junior?
I did. Yeah.
Gosh, what a nerd.
I know. Well, and the secret is I hated all my accounting classes. I was like, oh, I hate these classes. I can't even imagine being an accountant. And so when I got out, I was just like, please let the career be different than the classes. And thank goodness that it is.
I was and I think this did not do me service, because I'm very social. We know that. But I took 21 hours a semester. I just crammed it in.
Did you like the classes, or?
Not science.
No.
But, and then I took accelerated courses in the summer to get out so quickly. And so I missed a lot of and I was in a sorority and everything, but I missed a lot of that. And I really shared that with Kennedy, don't be in such a rush. And I did fine. I did well, but it was just, I was trying to save money with tuition. I was trying to think, and get out and get a job as fast as I could. And I didn't take time to smell the roses. You know what I mean? So, but we're all different.
Yeah, we're all different. I would not have wanted to stay a minute longer. I wanted to be an adult and get out there and do things.
Exactly.
And so, it's different for everybody.
All right, let's shift this to saving.
Okay.
You have a lot of families and businesses that you manage. Saving, is that a thing? Can we save with inflation the way it is today? The cost of living just seems it seems like every vendor just keeps going up, up, up because they're chasing inflation, right?
Well, we do have a little bit of that happening in this year, but all economic indicators are very strong economic growth over the next 3 to 5 years. And so it does feel like we're in a pinch, and this year has been, I'd say, clumsy, or, we don't know a lot of I felt like the first half of the year, we woke up every morning and watched the news and was like, I don't know what's happening today. So, there's a lot of uncertainty, which is impacting spending. But I think when it comes to savings, it's got to be that big goal. What are you trying to accomplish? And savings is like dieting, right? It's like the tiny things that make the difference. For some of our families and for our businesses, some of the things we do is we do like a subscription audit. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh, I'll sign up for this and I'll be sure to cancel it. Well, as you said, I'm a nerd and I have that on a calendar and I am going to go cancel it. But a majority of us don't go back and cancel, some of those things. So I think doing a little, mini audit on yourself, like, are you still getting value from that service or from that subscription? And that really adds up over time.
Yeah, the subscriptions. I mean, I just look at Greg alone and I'm like, what did we just sign? What did we just do? But it's easy to get sucked back in. You just go, because your card is in your phone. Yep. I mean, you pay with Apple Pay or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's true. So I'm going to take you. So I had two sets of grandparents. One set of grandparents was in investments. Mm-hmm. They loved investing and that was their deal. The other put the money in a mattress.
You're right.
What are we doing today?
I think we have to do a little bit of both, but heavier on the investing. So, a standard formula would be, 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. That is a lot. That is very hard to ramp up over time. So what I always recommend is start with that 1 month savings goal and then maybe split what you can savings between savings and investing. Especially the younger you are, the more power you have on time. The thing is, saving is boring. Saving and investing is you think that you need to overcomplicate it and be in these things that you can't even explain to other people to make it you're going to make so much money. But if you really just invest in the S&P and 500 or the EFT, it doesn't need to be overly complicated. I think we want to make it complicated because we think sometimes that money is complicated, but really with just time and solid basic investment, you can get there. You can get to where you want to be.
Dad told me when I was probably a junior, senior in high school, he said, I bet you cannot save $1,000 this year. And I watch, because if anyone ever says to me, I bet you can't do that, I'm going to do it. And it was the best gift. And so the next year it was I bet you can't do this. And can't you do this? So it was that motivation. So a lot of your clients possibly need motivation. Yours is a trip. Yeah. Your daughter is maybe makeup. Right. So motivation certainly helps as well.
Yeah. Motivation or, if you're saving something, you're saving for a house or you want a new car, put a picture of that on your phone or put it in a spot where, you see that all the time. I would also say you talked about kind of the apps and subscriptions and using your phone to pay for things. You're creating a frictionless environment where you don't have to think much. Make it difficult. Take Apple Wallet, take your credit card off of that. Make it where you have to physically do something to trigger that habit of, it's just a little bitty stop. Do I really want to spend money on this? I can tell when my husband has Apple Pay and I'm we're disconnecting this. It's not because I don't want you to spend the money. I just want you to be thinking about it just a little bit more.
Right. Right. Yeah. Your husband's an attorney.
Yes.
Do y'all have very different, because I know people will ask this too. You have very different views on finances or no?
No, we're very aligned on finances. My husband and I were married very young when he was in law school. So we call that the no money days. We had a card table and that was our dining room table for about 2 years. And if you wanted to spend more than $25, you had to ask the other person. Okay. Because when I say we had no money, we had that was it. He wasn't working. I was very early on in my career. And so we laugh about those days ha ha ha. Remember when we used to we wouldn't go out to eat unless a parent took us because we always ate at home. We didn't have a lot of money to do these fun things. And then after he was working, before we had kids, we were in super savings mode. What can we want a new house or we want something different? And so that really ingrained in us to just save as much as possible. Kids in life, we're not as aggressive as we used to be intentionally right now. But we're very aligned on how we're spending our money.
I'm assuming the old adage is the same. money, finances is a big issue with couples.
Absolutely.
It is,
So
right?
I mean, he's a divorce attorney. So we hear lots we hear lots of stories, right? So money, kids, and sex. I mean, that's it. I can basically every breakup is related to that. And unfortunately, if you have children, you're still going to fight about money and your children even after you're divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just that children are forever, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of if you're divorced or not, you are paired with that person in some way for the rest of your life.
Yeah, in some way.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't go away.
You see that, like, my husband's parents are divorced. We see both sets of grandparents, right? Like, that's just normal for my kids, and it's perfectly fine. But, like, they still see each other. They still have my husband as their son, so they're still there.
Exactly. It doesn't go away. You're not going away.
You're not going away.
Exactly. Hey, we were talking earlier about apps. Are there apps that help you? Are there apps I need to know about?
So I was a big Mint user that was owned by Intuit QuickBooks, and now they've shut down that app. But there's like You Need a Budget, things like that. Those would be great for, young professionals. Just it would tell you how much money you're spending in each category. Like, I'm a very graphical person. And so if I see on a pie chart that I've spent 30% of my income on restaurants, you can bet we will not be eating out that next week. And so things like that help you monitor your spending without you having to monitor it, right? Like, it just is some of those apps are just easy for you to track, and all you're doing is creating a read-only connection with your bank. And so you're not moving money or, seeing like that. It's just digesting it for you. It's giving you a summary so that you're not having to get into, not everybody wants to do QuickBooks for their personal self. I know, but I do it. I make my kids do it.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Nerd.
I know. I make my kids do the QuickBooks matching, and
she does.
I'm very mean to them. I'm sure they'll complain about it, but it helps them see, we don't need this to go to Chick-fil-A one more time this week.
I'm laughing at her, but I'm not, because I think it was one of the first meetings that you and I had a couple of years ago. You said, yeah, my daughter's learning QuickBooks. I'm like, is she 27?
I think she was 12.
She's 12 at the time.
She was running through her money. And so she said, how can I make some more money? And I was like, I'll teach you how to do this, and I'll pay you $5 an hour. And you're going to, figure this out. Now, it was short lived, but it just gives them visibility.
Oh my gosh. I can't even log into QuickBooks. This is how bad it is over here. Yes. But speaking of electronics, fraud.
Oh, goodness.
I think I'm a fraud magnet around here. Fraud, it's just a thing.
It's something you have to be looking at and being aware of all the time. So, being diligent on really your Apple password, because that's the gateway to your phone on so many things, and your face. Sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, my face isn't working for some reason, right? But
did you get Botox? What's happening?
Yeah, well, I'm like, is it because I'm laying down and it's 3:00 in the morning and I'm trying to figure this out? But keeping your password secure, I think, being diligent on watching what your credit card spending is, looking at typical vendors. I think, for some of the things, LifeLock, if you're not in a situation where you're needing credit, to freeze your credit, and to get all these alerts if someone's trying to open a credit card in your name, or ask for an increased credit limit, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't do that. So there's, I think technology, LifeLock is a great resource, and it's identity theft monitoring. And I'm sure there's similar services, but that's the one that we're consistently using.
Is that Norton? Is it?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because you and I decided to do that a couple of years ago. Kennedy's done it, and it's an investment, but well worth it.
Yeah.
And I do. I'll get a LifeLock. I'm like, and it's, if you're in investments, it may come up, but it certainly teaches you to watch and be super, super careful. Because
and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. Oops, sorry. And then I'll just let them know, whoops, I forgot that I did add that account, or, I did something different that I got an alert. So I do think it does a good job.
I think so too. I think it's great. Okay. The R word, meaning retirement. I have my, in my entire life is, oh my gosh, I can't wait to retire. I can't wait to retire. I can't wait to retire.
No, you're not retiring.
Never retiring. I will. Did you hear me say it? I will never retire. Did everybody in this room hear this? Because for cognition, I mean, I'm not going to go crazy like I'm doing today, but cognition. But is retirement still just the pie in the sky for everyone? Or is it like you have to save for retirement? You've talked about that with 401ks and all that.
Individual retirement accounts. Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things.
But is retirement, do people want to retire like they used to?
I don't think so. And I am not in my circle and people that I'm connected with. I don't see very many people just fully retiring. What I see is a phasing of their work. And especially, the gig/freelance economy is here. And they've talked about how that's going to shape the workforce over the next 10 to 20 years, that traditional employment is likely something of the past, and it's going to be moving forward. And I see that in retirement as well, right? So maybe you have reached a certain age, or you've reached a certain number in your retirement that's like, I could live like this, but maybe, I kind of want to keep busy 10 to 20 hours a week. I don't necessarily need to grind it out, but there are things that I want to do. And so maybe staying in your profession as a freelancer, or you become the gig person. My mother is a retired teacher of 34 years, and now she works part-time at the library, so it's an adjacent interest for her, but it's keeping her getting up every day, going somewhere, being social. She's making a little bit of money. So I think as the gig and freelance economy continues forward, I think for retirement purposes, we'll see that kind of expand as well.
Exactly. I mean, I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. Physicians are saying, always work your brain. And, obviously people still need to keep working, some people financially. But I think you're right. Your mom has a purpose.
Yeah.
She has a purpose to get
and
up.
She always knows the best books to read. I mean, it's great. I always get a list. I'm like, what's coming out? So.
It is incredible. Just talking about everything we've talked about today, how much life has changed since I was born, growing up, different generation, and then generational creating, it is bizarre on where we are. Just so many different changes in the world, for sure. You have Profits in Practice.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So your podcast, can't you tell us your podcast? We've talked about this for about a year, but your podcast is, tell us about it. But, and I had a story for you all after she explains what your podcast is about.
Yeah. So Profits in Practice is a podcast that's focused on helping private medical practices stay private and independent. So we advise a lot of physicians who own their own practice in what their day-to-day finances look like, or if they're going through a transaction. What I saw with my husband and then with clients is, if you're an attorney or a doctor, you go to school for a long time to be an attorney or a doctor, and you may not have the same business acumen to start a business. And so for some, there's a strong desire to be independent for a variety of reasons. And we come alongside them and help partner with them on the business side of that. So let the doctor or the attorney do their profession, be excellent at that, and then we kind of walk alongside on the finances and partner with them on that. So that's what Profits in Practice is all about.
And it brings me to stay in your lane. I mean, if you're not, I would never have, obviously be in the medical world.
Right.
And so having you as a resource is incredible, because businesses fail. They really do. Hey, she asked me one time, she told me that she didn't know what bok choy was when she was younger. I know, I've known since I hit the ground what bok choy is, people. I just have. So we laugh about that a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Well, you are a fabulous, I just adore you and your entire team, Kirsten and the whole group.
The team is great.
They are. How many women do you have?
We have 7 right now. 7 plus me, maybe 8. Yeah.
I mean, you just keep growing too.
Keep growing, keep helping people. I mean, that is like the greatest satisfaction is helping small businesses and families thrive financially. Our number one policy is we have a no jerk policy. And so when we have no jerks as clients,
okay.
Yeah. Well, when good people have money and financial resources, they can do good in the world. And so that's really, our focus as a firm.
I love that. And you're serious.
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, and you can be selective for sure. That is great. No one's on your team is a jerk either. So I was thinking you're talking about hiring jerks. You don't do that either.
No, we do.
We do that. Okay. How can we find you on social platforms?
Yeah, we're at Webb CFO in all the places. And the podcast is at Webb CFO for Physicians. So I'd love for people to check it out. And there's a whole episode on fraud, whether you're in the medical practice or not, about how to have fraud controls, personally and professionally.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sarah, and everyone. Thank you for listening. And I love that you share what you want. I want you to come on and, like, follow, do all the things, because you see this on YouTube as well. And I say this every single Tuesday. Everyone, always keep being fabulous.